Hi guys, welcome back to Character Design, a Tuts Plus premium course. I'm Ian Yates, and in this video we're going to look at the importance of sketching. Let's first begin as usual with a quick look at what we're going to cover in this video. Well, firstly we're going to talk about why you should bother with sketching at all. We'll then discuss the freedom that sketching gives you, and I'm going to go over some personal preferences of mine while we look a little bit more at our student character. As usual, we'll finish off by looking at some examples to check out, plus I'll leave you with an assignment before the next video. So what's sketching all about? Well, it's a fairly obvious preparatory stage in the process of drawing something. It's about observing your subject, practicing drawing, and developing your ideas towards final products. Many of the familiar great master painters used hundreds of sketches carried out in the field in order to complete their masterpieces in the comfort of a studio. Sketching is rough and ready. It's free, it's non-committal. Practice as much as you can, make all your mistakes early on, and you'll save time when it comes to the final stages. Now that's not to say that sketches are a disposable part of the workflow. They're not necessarily of lower quality than what you're ultimately aiming at. Quite the opposite, in fact. I find that sketches often have a sense of freedom and looseness which can be lost in highly polished final drawings. Take the work of Kevin Cornell, for example. His sketches are so good that they're usually the finished pieces too. That's just the way he works. The sketchiness gives movement and character, and it adds a little bit of chaos and uniqueness. It's very difficult to reproduce drawings like this, even for the artist himself. And when I was younger, I used to love The Goblins of the Labyrinth, a book with all the illustration work by Brian Froud, which he did for the film The Labyrinth, if you remember that one with David Bowie. His designs are rough sketches, though some have greater levels of completion. They're oozing character, and I could lose myself in that book for hours. It's well worth taking a look at. Okay, let's try some sketching of our own. I'm just going to start drawing our student character here. Now, remember, you should ideally be basing some of your sketches on observation. We've already gone over the research stage, and this ties in heavily with that. Now, I'm not suggesting you should go and hide in the bushes at your nearest college. That would be bad. But when we talk about anatomy more in the next video, you'll see why observation is so important. Okay, so we're just going to keep this free. We'll keep it quick. We'll draw something, and then we'll move on. So let's see, we're looking at a student. We're thinking facial elements, of course, to begin with. A lot of the character comes from the face, so we're as well to start off with those sort of proportions. If we're thinking a student, we're going to be thinking about a large head, perhaps brain, eyes and nose, possibly glasses, I guess. So you start with fairly simple shapes, keep it fairly basic, and then keep moving on. I've almost got a sort of light bulb shape with this head here, that's fine. Keep it sketchy. Try not to get too tied up in details at this point. Now we're trying to appeal to a wide audience here, but we're a youngish audience. Not a babyish audience, but we can keep it relaxed. Dark eyes? No, is he tired? Could be. Now what you'll want to avoid doing is recreating drawings that you've already done. So if I were to draw something simple and quite like it, it would then be a bit of a mistake to immediately go off and try and recreate what I've just drawn, because what you'll end up doing is giving yourself a sort of Chinese whisper effect. You'll eventually not actually be drawing your student at all, you'll be drawing your drawings. So remember to keep the basic ideas in your brain fundamental and work from that point. So keep things as different as you can, be varied. Think about all aspects of the student. Now I'm working with a biro here on just some lined paper, which is extremely basic. It's perfectly adequate. I'm actually a big fan of the biro. We're going to talk more about some of the materials in a minute. That's fine. But what you will notice is that because a biro is just a simple ink pen, it's designed for writing, not necessarily drawing. All my lines are just piling up on top of each other. I can give some of them some more emphasis by sort of going over them and reiterating them. But eventually I'm just going to end up with a load of very dark lines and scribbles all piled on top of each other. And I'm ultimately going to be losing a bit of clarity in there. So it's quite often better if you use a pencil for this sort of thing. So let me just grab something here. This is a 2B. This is fairly soft, but it's fairly average. So you'd start off with soft lines, for example. This is fairly average, so you can be quite sort of diagrammatical with your lines, like so. But then we can obviously get harder and start to reinforce our lines as we go on. Coloured pencils are actually even better, and I quite like using coloured pencils whenever I can, for the simple reason that it's a nice aesthetic. But you can also begin with one colour, which is fairly pale, so you can sort of lay out some fairly fundamental foundations, and they won't really influence the final result at the end. So you can get a good sort of framework for your character going, like so. Then we'll bring in something else, like a purple. Just nicked these off my 6-year-old daughter, actually. It's perfectly good enough. And you can see the lines that I'm sure of, I can reinforce using different colours. You can sketch in any colours you want, of course. It makes no difference, whatever you prefer. We'll talk more about an artist called Shane Glines when we cover anatomy, but if you check out his Facebook page, you'll find tons of fantastic examples of his sketches where he uses coloured pencils to great effect. Usually red, actually. He's a big fan of red. But he demonstrates exactly how effective sketching with coloured pencils can be. That's quite a nice aesthetic we're coming up with there. And other than coloured pencils, I tend to favour soft materials, like a very soft pencil or graphite or even charcoal, because they allow you to make quick and very rich sketches. I have here, what have I got here? This is just a very dark and 8B graphite pencil. It's very soft. You can go big and you can go bold, and you can cover great areas, which is nice. Like so. There we go. A sad student today. There we go. I can colour in his hair without any real hassle. Easily done. Where's my charcoal? That's even better. Now the advantage of really soft materials like this is that when you think about it, objects in real life don't have outlines at all. We have our shapes and our forms are are all defined by areas of dark and of light. And of course, with a soft material, you can easily achieve a similar effect. You can quickly fill in areas, even smudge things around if you want to. And then you can be more refined with slightly harder materials after that, should the need be. You can bring in our colours again if you want. But this chaotic and experimental nature of sketching is what will bring you accidentally to some really nice effects. So don't be afraid of doing whatever you feel like doing, just experimenting. Now, of course, what we're aiming for ultimately is a level of refinement which we're confident of. Drawings we're confident represent our final character. It's going to take a lot more work than just this simple one page here, but that's fine. It's up to you to go away and experiment yourself. Now, when we reach that stage, which will be further down the line, we'll take our sketches to the comp stage. Comps, or final compositions, are still sketches, but they communicate clearly what our decisions are, the decisions we've come to during the whole process. They're effectively the ultimate stage in the sketching process. Okay, time for some further reading. I've mentioned a couple of resources and artists I think you should take a look at, but you should also check out this article about the artwork, specifically the sketch work of Claire Wendling. This particular article, featured on the amazing Academy of Art Character and Creature Design Notes blog, goes over her studies and sketches of cats. Now, whether her final artwork is realistic, fantastic or comic, her understanding of cats, their anatomy, their movement and behaviour is all thanks to the dedication she's put into observing and sketching them. Take a look at the examples and get inspired. Now, as usual, we'll round off by me setting some homework and assignment. And this one's perhaps a bit predictable, but as we're talking about sketching and we're working on our student character, I want you to practice some of the techniques we talked about and sketch away. I'd like to have several sketches you're happy with before we hit the next video. Speaking of which, next time on Character Design, we're going to look at anatomy. My name's Ian Yates, and from all of us here at Tuts Plus, thanks for watching.